morning, everybody. This is the Grunge Bible Podcast coming at you Monday, October, what day is today?
17th, baby.
October 17th for episode 82, it doesn't matter, 82 today.
A lot.
We're a little disconnected. We've already had some difficulties with the internet and the recording, but Chris and Ethan are back for another rousing episode of your favorite podcast.
Potentially your favorite podcast.
Potentially your favorite podcast. Is it your favorite, Chris?
I don't think it's my favorite. What about you? Is it yours?
Oh, dude, it's my favorite. It's my absolute.
I actually wait every morning at 6:30. Every Monday at 6:30. I'm just refreshing my Spotify and my Apple Podcast to wait.
You're the first download.
Yep, I'm the first one.
That's amazing.
First in line.
But we are back for another episode. I think that. Well, let's just ask. How are you, Chris? How are we doing?
I'm doing fucking terrible.
Oh man, the days are getting shorter. It's getting colder. It's happening. Yep.
So the days are getting shorter. So that always sucks. I'm not in California anymore, which sucks. The transmission on my car failed. I'd rather be
depressed in California.
Yes, so. Exactly. Ocean's got the only blues I need. My transmission went on my car, so that's going to be immensely expensive. And I'm having internet connection issues, which sucks when you're trying to record a podcast. So I'm going through it. I'm not happy.
Yeah, man, that's no good.
Yeah. How are you? Yeah.
It's raining here. Hasn't rained in a while, so as all the dads would say,
we need it.
We need it. So I love that. I have the day off from work, which is good. My body was pretty sore, so
sick.
I'm doing well. I'm on the right track. I'm just kind of chugging along. I want to have a nice hard month of work and stuff, and kind of recoup. So we're in the middle of it, but it feels good. So I'm glad to be able to sit down with you midweek. Because we didn't know when we were going to record, so that's always a good thing when we can knock it out.
We were so blessed by the rain.
That's right. We were Minutemen, and we were ready. So
we're always ready to record the Grunge Bible Podcast.
Yep, and we sent out a bunch of flares to get some interviews, and no one bit for this week, which is to be expected. Yeah. But we have them out there, so yeah. It's coming.
We're gonna get some other voices on this podcast very soon. Hopefully, voices that will be interesting and stimulating at the same time. Yeah. So we're looking forward to that.
So for today's episode, there was just a festival. I guess it's Is it a one-weekend festival?
Apparently, there's only one day listed, which sounds impossible given the number of bands. But I'm gonna guess it's a weekend. But it's the perfect segue because there's been a big shift lately. Like when we first got into the grunge game 7 years ago, everyone was obsessed with the early '90s. And now that's shifting a little bit. People are jonesing for some late 90s and 2000s action. And if you're listening to the news, Blink-182, they're back with the original members. A new album's coming out that we didn't ask for, and a new tour is happening that a lot of people asked for. So
we did ask for, yep.
Yeah, we asked for that. So this is going to be a good conversation, talking about that and talking about the When We Were Young festival, which is coming to you in October of 2023.
Yeah, as we're talking about, it's the changing of the seasons here. We're moving from summer to fall, and the changing of the nostalgia is kicking back in. Everybody wants that back to the school vibes and stuff, and I think that everybody's changing from, like you said, the 90s to the 2000s nostalgia. So we're kind of shifting, which is pretty cool. So we'll talk about that more. But some housekeeping we gotta get done. First off, thank you to our producer, Drew McFadden. He's been ironclad, and we probably have some cuts for him to make and some dealings to do with this episode, but no doubt he'll take care of it. And if he can't, we'll just fire him because we can get somebody that'll do it. You know what I mean?
We can do that.
Guy's too expensive.
We can do that.
No, I'm just kidding. He's too cheap. He needs more money, and there's only one way to get money for this man, Chris.
There's only one way, and that's through the people, because we're funded by the people, and the best way to do that is to support us on Patreon or purchase some merchandise, which both links are available in the show notes. They're plastered all over our link tree on Grunge Bible's Instagram. They're everywhere. On grungebible.com. They're everywhere. But this week, the roster remains the same. The song remains the same. And I would like to thank the following people for continuing to support us. At the top level, I would like to thank Eddie Vedder, got me through my second divorce, Kitty Cooper, Brother Nature, Shoe the Shoeless, Blue Owl, Kara K, I Hate Your Mom, Fresh Tendonitis, Carlene Salona, my mother, Seattle 4 fanboy from New Jersey, Jamie Lynn, What the Fuck's Up Denny's, our number one fan from Australia, Wayne Staley, Fuck Soup, Rachel Corning, Darian Riddle, Alex Long, Jade Mercado, Doug Endy, Black Hole Sean, Captain Hightop, Lauren Irene, Millie, Release, Nikki Six, Marianne, Alexis Shannon, Sonny Mashburn, Chris LSMS, and Faith Bittner. So thanks everybody for continuing to support us amidst the highs, the lows, and the way lows of putting a podcast out and navigating all this shit.
Yes, we cannot do that without them. Where should we start? I think we talk about nostalgia a lot. That's what this page is built on.
Yeah, we don't exist without it.
So it's important, right? Nostalgia is important.
Yeah, it makes people feel good until they realize that it makes them feel bad. It's like
right. I was gonna say it's a double-edged sword, of course.
Yeah,
because oh man, I've been thinking about it a lot lately. You always do. I mean, you never can get away from it, I don't think.
No, you can't. And just the older you get, the more you have to be nostalgic about. And it's funny because as we talked about at the top of the episode, they just announced this When We Were Young festival. And we're going to get into, some of the people who are playing on that thing. And we talked about Blink-182 making their comeback, and they're not the first band from this era to make their foray back in. And, yeah, it's just kind of like this weird thing that started to happen, whereas just like the appetite that everybody has for the late 90s and the early 2000s, which is kind of weird for us because we remember the early 2000s. So I feel like this is the first bit of warranted nostalgia that we have. Like we've always had phony nostalgia for like the early 90s and the grunge era, but I feel like we can kind of take some ownership over this now. But what do you think? What's the deal with all this?
I totally agree. I talk about the bus rides and listening and getting, the first music that I listened to on my iPod or burning CDs, and it was The Used, it was, Yellow Card, Rise Against, these bands were, Taking Back Sunday. Like I just remember 5th and 6th grade Ethan, listening to them. So they're definitely, besides, rock and roll from, driving the backseat with my dad, this is like the first intro to music in a lot of ways was this type of music. So, because that's what everybody was listening to. And yeah, it's kind of cool. Like also, I mean, I was young for a lot of them and I didn't really go to many concerts until like my later teens. Like I didn't go to like, say this type of like rock shows and different stuff. I don't know. I wasn't a risk taker until like 17, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you kind of can't be when you're like 12 or 13. Drive, it's a little different at that point. Yeah.
And I didn't live like so close to venues to like, get there myself or something. So, so I haven't seen a lot of these bands live. And if I was, if they were big now, the way that we've been going to shows, I would have been to a lot more. Like my neighbor, the lead singer of my band, he went to Warped Tour every year, and I remember the one year I couldn't go with him, and I've actually never been, and I missed the window because then, all of a sudden the music and the age, like it all of a sudden the festival was past its prime. It happens quick.
The festival stuff, it's quick.
Like you never know when the last festival or the last year of the festival being good and being anything, all of a sudden it'll drop off and it'll be like, everybody's like, that's old news. Yeah. And so I missed the Warped Tour because it used to be hot shit. It was big.
Well,
big
the crazy
time.
thing, like, it's funny that you say that because I agree with it 100%. But when you kind of take a 30,000 foot view, it's not that the festival becomes bad. It's that it just becomes good for a younger demographic of people or a different set of people. It's like we get old. Like, what is this shit? Yeah, it's like I don't want to deal with this shit anymore. It's I think it's the same thing as to how a lot of people felt about Lollapalooza, as they, it made a big shift throughout the 90s, and the artists that were being showcased there certainly changed a lot. So it's funny, but now it's like Live Nation is putting this When We Were Young festival on, and they're just planting the flag and rebuilding the cottage industry of a new kind of nostalgia. And it's kind of like, I thought about it today. I was like, are people in their like late 20s, 30s, and early 40s the most nostalgic, or is it just because they have the most disposable income to spend on their nostalgia that like this always seems to pop up?
No, I think the first part is, I think the first thing you said was correct. I think the late 20s, early 30s is the most nostalgic age, and that's where the people fall for this type of music, because I think, like right now, I feel like we're both still trying to figure out a lot of stuff in life. So it brings us back to
we don't have anything figured out.
We don't have anything figured out, so we're thinking about when it was easy and nothing really mattered, and this and that. And I think once you get over the hump and maybe we start a family, something like that. Like I think people let it go easier. So I think that this is the hot spot. I'm going to probably be the most, except for maybe when you're so old, but then you have so much other parts of life to be nostalgic for. Like when you have your, like my brother, his daughter turns 1 in like 2 days, and I'm sure that he's gonna be more nostalgic about those moments when he's 50 than when he was in high school, because those are the new highlight. And right now our highlight may be, we won't get into that.
It's a short list, Ethan.
Yeah. I don't have any highlights now. So yeah, I think it's we're in a hot spot, our age, and now is this festival going to be full of 30-year-olds?
Yeah, I think it has to be, right? And I saw a funny tweet.
It's got to be the target.
Yeah, it has to be. I saw a funny tweet when Blink-182 announced that like they were coming back in their original lineup in the tour, and the tweet was like, "If you're excited by the Blink-182 news, like remember to get up and stretch your back and hamstrings. You're not as young as you used to be, and that's okay."
You know how old Travis Barker is?
He's got to be 40, right?
He's 46.
He's 46? Yeah. Oh my God. I think like the same way finding out that these guys from that era are like in their mid 40s is the same way I felt when you learn that like Mike McCready and Eddie Vedder are like a hell of a lot closer to 60 than they are 50, Yeah,
Mark Hoppus is 50.
Oh my God.
What the fuck?
That's unbelievable.
Holy shit, dude.
I don't want to know any more of this. So here's the thing. I cannot believe that he's 50. It's just like, it's one of those things like for me, I'm not a big Blink-182 fan really. Like I like their music, but I certainly wouldn't, go against the rat race to try to get tickets to this tour, to be in the back row and spend $200 to go and see them, because like there's a chance that they're washed, right? Yeah.
There's expectations built up for all the years. It's like we talk about with Pearl Jam or
well, it's the
whoever,
same thing.
Insert whoever band. I mean, we've talked about this a ton.
I'm starting to realize
it's a total gamble. It's a total gamble.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize why Chris Cafaro said that Pearl Jam sucked after 1992 and they only ever made one good. Because like I feel like if you were there and you experienced it, which we did a little bit of Blink and a lot of those bands on that bill, like to recreate those feelings and that energy is very, very difficult. Same way as like Eddie Vedder couldn't recreate in 2000 what he did in 1992, and he surely can't do that now without it maybe feeling a little artificial or a little, acted out. But yeah, I don't know. Do you think they'll be good? Do you think this festival would be good to attend, or you just get sad because you're all old and you're paying $20 for a beer and $50 for a T-shirt?
Yeah. Well, I think the people that are going to it probably have the money to spend the $50 and $20.
They're probably not off.
They're not teenagers. We're not teenagers anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I will say, so I think what will drive this thing home is, like the Smashing Pumpkins came in and played, and I remember like, or anybody where you go see them and you have never seen them before, and you're kind of checking something off, and it doesn't matter how the show goes, or it doesn't matter how the songs are delivered. It does, of course, but you know what I mean? Like, I remember when Isaac Brock played, and I knew that I was like, this is different than the early stuff, their earlier concerts, and I knew that it was going to be like that. And it was still I think he did better than I expected, which is great. But it was one of those things where I spent so much time with the music that it still fulfilled something that I wanted to experience. Right. And although it's not, it doesn't hold a candle, hold a light to the original, it still is important. So I think that this show is the same way. Like if I went and saw Blink-182, I know I'm not to expect the Daytona spring break type of show. And
we're in the long shorts and the Vans and the knee socks.
Yeah, and like all these things, I'm gonna be watching two 46-year-olds and a 50-year-old play music, but it's gonna be all important music. But I think that with the right mindset, you just can't go in thinking it's gonna be the exact same thing, or you're gonna be a little bit butthurt.
Yeah,
so
it's just
I would go
kinda...
if someone gave me a free ticket and bought me. I would go.
Yes, yeah, I totally agree. I definitely, for me, just the line is drawn. I don't think I wouldn't do like a Taylor Hawkins road trip type thing for a Blink-182 show or for even for this festival, for example. But like, can we talk about some of the bands that are playing at this festival? Because I think
let's go through.
It's weird. So the people that listen to our podcast based off of the demographics and the analytics that they show me, it's kind of evenly split. People our age, and then there's kind of a little bit of a gap, and then it's a lot of people in their 40s, who kind of were grunge people. So I think half of the people that listen to this show are going to be equally as excited and intrigued about this lineup as we are, because they remember being kids at middle school listening to this music. And then the other half, this is the exact type of music that they detested because they were in their late 20s, early 30s when this stuff came out, and they don't like it because it was a departure from what they grew up listening to. So I guess this is your time to log off if you are not of the open-minded variety.
Just think that at some point maybe there'll be a Imagine Dragons Coldplay type of
oh my goodness. Could you imagine lineup? Mumford & Sons?
Dude, just get them American authors, have that whole
the script.
It's coming.
Train. Yeah, that would be absolutely incredible. I would just love to see what like Pitchfork would have to say about that, because they love dragging people, and that would be the prime fodder for them.
Somehow Weezer would be on there.
Yeah, Weezer, I feel like, is contractually obligated to be on every sort of thing like this.
All right, so back to the bands.
It's just like I'm looking at these right now. Like you have the usual suspects. Yeah,
I'll say first off, it's Green Day and Blink-182. That's what's bringing everybody in, because Green Day has a little bit more reach, and Blink-182 obviously has a little bit more. Like they were pretty popular. Their songs are known by everybody, so. I love that. I honestly wasn't sure that Green Day was still playing either. I was surprised to see. I mean, I thought Billy Joe was.
They're like they're trekking, like they're consistent. They're just road dogs. I feel like they're every single time I hear about it, it's like, oh, like Billy Joe like played, or he was doing, Green Day was doing this, that, and the other. Like I feel like if you were to look up their touring history, like they've been very, very consistent out there, which is. Gotta be tough. I mean, once again, we were just kind of laughing because the Blink guys were in their 40s and Mark is 50, and Billy Joe. I mean, the Green Day guys are probably right up there too. But it's funny. I'm kind of looking at this thing, and right down the line, I'm just looking, and each time I look at this list, like a new name pops out. I mean, there are people that I haven't thought about since I was 12 or 13 on here. Like Gym Class Heroes is there. All Time Low, 5 Seconds of Summer. One. Yeah, it's just unbelievable to think about some of these.
Wow.
It's Joyce Manor's on there, which I really appreciate. So I appreciate Beach Bunny too, and the Front Bottoms will be there too. So it's kind of they have a few that kind of hopped on the tail end of that. But Motion City Soundtrack, Rise Against, Sum 41.
I love Sum 40. Sum 41's great. Goldfinger, Yellow Card.
Lit is on there.
Yep, Lit's on there. Newfound Glory. All Time Low. I was surprised to see 30 Seconds to Mars. I loved them growing up. They were really unique, and I honestly didn't know that they were still playing either. Like, I feel like it's weird. Bowling for Soup, huge.
A lot of these bands, I'm kind of surprised that they still play music together. Like I thought that about Good Charlotte. I think that about Lit, the Plain White Tees, Bowling for Soup, like you just said.
Are Plain White Tees on there?
Yeah, they are on there. They're to the left of Simple Plan. That's another band, Simple Plan. Like people love that band. It's funny. I have a decent Simple Plan story.
Something corporate.
Yeah. So this past spring I went on a few dates with this woman who was not musically not like a huge music fan, but for some reason absolutely loved Simple Plan. And it wasn't like, oh, like I love Simple Plan and like I love Blink and like all those. It was like I just love Simple Plan. And I've never it's like the similar thing that we thought about Manchester Orchestra. Like imagine Simple Plan being your favorite band.
I know it's weird. I was thinking about this before. I was listening to an interview with Scott Stapp.
I haven't listened to that yet. I've been saving that.
It's good one because Theo does a really good. He's a comedian, but he has like these random people. Like I did not expect to see Scott Stapp, and
right.
So it's good. It's really good, but he talks about one of when he was he talks about his influences, and he talks about U2 being a big one. You probably know this, and he said that it was because one of the main reasons was he had Joshua Tree got stuck in his cassette player, like in his old car, and so it was the only thing he listened to.
I love that,
and I thought about that because I wrote down like my favorite Blink-182 album or whatever, and it's "Take Off Your Pants and Jacket." And it's like, why is that? It's like, well, that's the one I listened to the most because it was the only one I had downloaded or something. And how many times do you hear that where it's like this album, it was like all I had, so I listened to it nonstop, and so is it your favorite album because the songs are really good?
No,
because
it's just because
you've listened to it enough
that
each song. You kind of trick your brain, and each song is good in its own way. Because there's a lot of times where you can listen to an album like 3 or 4 times, but once you cusp like maybe 15 times, there's a reason you like every song, and you never would have thought that in the beginning. I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Why is that when?
Yeah, 100%. And it just kind of makes that imprint on your brain. Like I still remember, for example, when I was a kid, my iPod Nano. I had like 120 songs. Like I can still remember the order that some of the songs were in because I never really liked to shuffle, but like I just had them sorted by alphabetically by song titles. So, like I still remember like Sweet Home Alabama used to go right into Teenagers by My Chemical Romance, and it's just like little things like that you remember. And like were those like the best songs or my favorite songs? Like no, but they just ended up there, and they became important to me because of that. And I feel like you don't get that much anymore because I think most people have a streaming subscription at this point, or you go on YouTube. But it's like when you got a CD from your friend that they made for you, or you were able to like burn something real quick, or you were gifted something. Like if that's the one that you had, you weren't able to pull up Spotify and dive into a band's discography. It's like that's what you had. And the cool thing was, as you got older, as you got more means, you were able to you Take Off Your Pants and Jacket. And then when you discover Enema of the State or something, it's like, wow, like there's other really good stuff out here.
And I never realized, I remember when I was younger too, like listening to an album and being like, these are great. And then someone telling me that there was like 7 more albums. And I was like, whoa, I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what? I was like, 7 more albums of this band? Are you sure?
Yeah, exactly. It's like you don't want to believe them. It's so funny. So
I literally was like, that's like so much money. I gotta buy these like CDs. That's gonna be way too much.
Yeah, it's so funny.
I'm gonna have to illegally download that.
Yeah, exactly. So many people have stories like that. Like I remember my college track and field coach. He grew up and some of his brother's older friends, I think, showed him some Van Halen, and I think the first one that he got was maybe like 5150 or 1984, and then like he loved it, and then he was talking to his older friends, he's like, wait until you hear their old stuff, and it's kind of like there's old stuff, like it's just blowing his mind with like the self-titled or like Van Halen 2 or Women and Children First, and it's just like you don't have that anymore because it's all right in front of you. Like there's less surprises now, but those surprises were always really fun.
Man. Yeah, I'd say so. If you had to pick 3 bands from this bill that you would be most excited to go and see.
Yep.
Who and why? And they don't need to be in any particular order, but if you could make your own Saturday night lineup for in Worcester, Massachusetts, or that place down in Providence, like right
Providence, there. Yeah.
Who would you want to see?
Oh my god. So I'm going to preemptively disqualify the Front Bottoms, Beach Bunny, and Joyce Manor because in my mind, well, I would pick all of them, but in my mind, they feel like too current to be on this bill.
Yeah, good point.
So I think, I'm going to work my way from the bottom to the top and get like a quote unquote smaller act to open than somebody else and then the headliner. So I think I'm starting out with Lit. I think I have to go with Lit for the sole purpose that I need to hear my own Worst Enemy. I just think that would be electric because, you're just getting the night going. I'm definitely opening up with Lit. And then moving on up, I think it would be really cool to get a little Motion City soundtrack in there. When I was a kid, they seem to have a song in every single video game that I used to play back when I was younger. So that'd be huge for the nostalgia trip. And then, just because curiosity will get the better of me, if Blink headlined that little 3-band run, I would pick Blink 182 just to see what they've got,
100%. Yeah. Blink 182 has to be my closer as well. Yeah. I think so Blink 182 is going to be my closer. I think 30 Second to Mars is going to be the penultimate act. Yeah.
I have a question. Is it worth getting into them? So I remember they had that song Kings and Queens, which I absolutely loved because it was like super cinematic. Is it all like that?
That album was really big. That probably came out 2012 or maybe 2012, like our senior year.
It was like a huge soundtrack song. I remember because like it's like super
very big. Yeah,
overarching.
Yeah. Their other stuff is also very big. It's kind of like I don't want to say it's interstellar, but it's kind of like this alien type of like do 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 do. And
did you know they released their first album? They released their first album in 2002.
Oh, 2?
That's a long time ago. Yeah, that's longer than I would have guessed.
Dang,
I gotta check them out. Yeah, I love that shit.
You should check him out. They're good. His voice is so strong. Yeah, he's really good. So. All right, my opener though for those two, this is a tough one. I think I would go more punk or ska, and I would probably pick either Less Than Jake or Bowling for Soup.
I thought you were gonna pick Bowling for Soup. Yeah,
those two would be so cool. Or honestly, Sum 41. That's just a little bit harder, and I'm already having 2 hard bands after, so maybe I'd go like Less Than Jake would be really cool, but Bowling for Soup, like Sum 41 would be. That'd be intense for they're really I like them a lot.
I just noticed that Knuckle Puck is on this bill as well, which I like.
Shout out Scott Simmer.
Absolutely, big Scott.
Scott's going to see them, and he's probably dying over. He might even go see this. It's in Vegas, so
hell yeah, just a couple of hours away. But yeah, it's really interesting, and I feel like if this festival were to have been put together 5 or 10 years ago, I don't know if it would have had the draw that it's going to have now. Just because I think the people that
100%
are most affected by it and that are most excited about it are finally at a point where they're at least more established than we are, and they have the ability to travel for something like this. And it's been a while. It's been 20 years since a lot of these bands were at the top of the tower. So, it's people are always looking for that window back. And, you have a 40-year-old who listened to this stuff when they were 20 back in high school and college. It's, it's the same way that you go to a Pearl Jam show and it's all at this point, people in their 50s. It's like if you see me at the Pearl Jam show, I'm the white guy with thinning gray hair.
All in all, I think that there will be, hopefully, a lot of kids are going to be brought to this concert because the parents are going to want their youngins to see what they grew up with, and they can point up and say, that was my Eddie Vedder. Point at the Jared Leto.
That's the best part about
the Mark Hoppus and Tom DeLonges of the group.
That's honestly, part.
I don't really, these are the bands. I mean, I'm surprised Fall Out Boy didn't make the cut, which kind of stinks.
Or like All American Rejects or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Those are the bands that people knew the frontmen and whatnot.
Yeah,
But
they'll
anyway.
save that. They'll save that for the next one in 10 years. So it'll all be good, and then we'll be in our 30s and feel even more nostalgic about it. So that'll be very, very lovely. So if you're out there and you're interested in going to this, let us know. I would love to hear the why and what the plan's going to be. So, and if you're excited about this too, I want to hear that. Seemingly maybe more excited than we are.
I wonder if these bands are going to have the staying power to be touring in 20 years. Like
I don't know whether even if they want to. Like the Who. You imagine Blink-182 when they're in their mid-70s.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I guess only time will tell.
Yeah.
What a lineup, right?
What a lineup, everybody. Incredible. So, also quite the lineup that this is our 82nd episode. So if you're still with us, I thank you very kindly for continuing to come back every week and spend some of your time with us. If you want to support us, as we said, our producer's asking for a raise. So help us out, help that bottom line. Go buy some merch. Go join the Patreon
too.
Exactly. Really running us thin over here and making us want to shut the whole thing down. But all kidding aside, we're very thankful that Drew McFadden is on board. We've given him more than his fair share of work to do the last couple of weeks with how shitty the internet connections have been. So we continue to do that here for episode 82. So it's almost time to get out of here, but I think we have to close with some song of the week. Since we skipped out on it last week, we have to give the people what they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's about time we go back to the regular scheduled programming. I got a good one. I can go first. All right. Not sure how I found this song. I can't remember. It was off a playlist, but I can't remember who, or a radio, but I can't remember which radio it was. But the song is by Gene Dawson, and it's called Three Heads. And it's kind of like this punk, electronic rock a little bit, but more like punk and kind of like fuzzy audio type of stuff, and not like, well, maybe not fuzzy, but it's got this really unique sound. And I actually sent it to our friends Yellow Trash Can, and I was like, you guys probably already listened to them, I'm sure, but I actually thought they were you at first. Like, they sound like Yellow Trash Can, they're just so unique and creative. Like some of the stuff that our friends Yellow Trash Can do, like they're just like really cool and creative, and I love it. And they were like, yeah we get that a lot, sweet. That we sound just like them and this other band. And they were like, they're like, it's right in the same realm as that type of music, which has a little bit of each. Like there's like some screaming, but it's also like chill rock and chill punk kind of thing, and I love it. And so anyway, I shot that over to them, and they were like, yeah, we get that a lot. But it was a really good. Sometimes that type of music doesn't hit for me. Like sometimes it can be like, all right, like, I mean, a whole album. But man, this one was really good.
I hear you there. Sweet.
So that's a good one. So I'll send that. You'll like that one, I'm sure. So yeah, it'll be good. How about you, Chris?
Nice. So my song of the week, similarly, I have no idea how I discovered this. Must have been some playlist somewhere, thanks to the almighty algorithm. But it's by a musician that I was familiar with, but I didn't know this song. And the musician performs by the name Field Medic, and the song is called "I Will Not Mourn Who I Was That Has Gone Away." And it's just this really kind of like uplifting, redeeming, like folky type song. Which is really cool. I think I listen to a lot of that stuff once the weather starts to get colder and you start thinking about life and everything. And a lot of Field Medic's songs are a little sad, and this one's kind of uplifting and just about like moving forward and all that shit. What was the title? So it was called "I Will Not Mourn Who I Was That Has Gone Away." It's a mouthful.
I thought you were reading lyrics. Yeah, I thought you were reading lyrics. No. I will not mourn.
Yep. Who I was that has gone away, and
I saw one of the song I made up to stop myself from having a panic attack just now. That's the title.
Yes. So definitely in the Field Medic style of having long titles and all lowercase letters, seemingly.
Right.
So
what does that mean?
It's really. Yeah, exactly.
What does that mean to you, Chris, when someone uses all lowercase like that and make a point? You've done it. I've seen that in your playlists. Why do you do that?
It's like It's like it's like an E.E. Cummings kind of thing. He was a poet back in like the 20th century who like never used punctuation, never used capital letters. And I don't know. I think a lot of people do it because they think it's edgy and cool. Soccer Mommy does it. Field Medic does it. I do it. E.E. Cummings did it 100 years ago. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just something else to differentiate yourself and make yourself feel cool. Yeah, you didn't know. Yeah, you got to stay for the end of the Grunge Bible podcast.
What a reference. You were ready for that, I guess.
To get the E.E. Cummings references. That one is, that's a shout out to my 5th grade teacher, Mrs. Cohen, who developed my appreciation for poetry. So shout out for that.
I'm more of an all uppercase every word type of guy.
I know. Yeah, no, I love me some lowercase guys. There's
there is E.E. Cummings.
E.E. Cummings, the man. Edward Estlin Cummings.
Coming.
He was born in Cambridge, Massachusetts. Yeah, he's coming. Just like Blink 182, they're coming, and there's nothing you can do to stop them.
How about the all crossed out word, like a word but all crossed out?
That's a little too much for me. The strike through, yeah, that's
strike
too much
through,
for me. Yeah. People love the strike through too, man. People are just looking for ways to be different.
Yeah, Drew. I don't know if you saw this. He put up a story the other day. Shout out to Drew, our producer, because he has, I almost said he has dumb ideas like this, but they're cool because they're different. But he's like, when is the first song gonna come out that's gonna be just titled with an emoji? And he put like an emoji or two.
That's a good, yeah. I mean,
yeah. And I was like, be the first one, dude. Just make an emoji, like, and then let it be. I mean, when is the title gonna be a picture, basically?
Yeah, it's only a matter of time, man.
So shout out Drew. You should make a song of that. But then I mean, you got to
be the trendsetter. Man, we've been so mean to Drew the last 2 episodes.
Oh no, he loves it. He loves it.
He loves it.
Everybody understands. But all right, that's it. We're done.
Yeah. Let's get out of here.
I got nothing else. So.
No, I don't have anything else.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great week. And we will see you same time next week.
Yep. See you next week for episode 83. Take care, everybody. See ya.
Rock and roll.
Rock and roll.
Lose our feed again, and it'll probably be difficult for Drew, and I don't care. I could care less if it's difficult for Drew. You hear that? Drew's gonna have to deal with all of this. Just good. That's why he gets paid, and we don't. And he wants a raise.
He wants yesterday. All right. Well. Please sing.